Hi, this is Lara at Elliott Wave Gold with your daily gold analysis done after the New York session for Thursday the 12th of September has closed. I'm recording this video just gone 5:35 in the afternoon New York time. Yesterday's analysis clearly stated the situation was unclear yesterday. I wanted to see that parallel channel on the hourly chart breached with upwards movement, or I wanted to see movement below 1344.26 to clarify the situation. We got movement below 1344.26 and at that stage expected we're in a new downwards trend. At that stage, the alternate wave count, which saw upwards movement as a primary 4 and downwards movement as a primary 5, was confirmed. So I'm going to take a wee step back and have a look at the weekly chart with you today. From the all-time high here, so far we have one irregular flat, a relatively deep sideways moving correction, a third wave impulse, and now most likely a fourth wave relatively shallow zigzag correction over here. It's shallow in comparison to the third wave it's correcting. The second wave is over 60% the length of the first wave it's correcting. It's a regular flat because A subdivides to a 3, B is a 3, it's over 90% the length of A but less than 105% the length of A, so it's a regular flat. C is very close to equality with A, it's very slightly truncated. The third wave has a nice 1.618 ratio to the first. And now yesterday's downwards movement confirmed this upwards movement for the fourth wave as a completed three-wave zigzag. So, with nice alternation with a zigzag here and a sideways moving regular flat here, we probably have the end of the fourth wave. I do have an alternate though, which looks at the possibility that primary wave 4 could yet continue further sideways as a more time-consuming correction to be better in proportion with primary 2. That most certainly is possible, but I do think it has a lower probability because if primary 4 is over here, then it has perfect alternation with primary wave 2. This is probably where we have a final fifth wave down beginning. It should find support at the lower edge of this parallel channel drawn on the weekly chart from 1 to 3 with a copy on 2. For the alternate, if primary 4 does continue further, it can't move into primary 1 price territory. Movement above 1532.90 would invalidate this wave count at cycle degree. Movement below 1032.7 would confirm this wave count at cycle degree. At that stage, we know that there is no downwards invalidation point and gold could continue a lot lower. Let's have a look at this structure on the daily chart with the end of primary 3 down here. Is this point down here? So we have a 535 zigzag confirmed as complete. Yesterday's analysis published a 2-hourly chart looking at this piece of movement, showing that minor wave 1 ended a little bit lower and minor 2 was an expanded flat. With that analysis, minor wave 3, the problem was resolved. It's now slightly longer than minor wave 1. With price movement back into this territory down here very firmly, this can't be a fourth wave correction. This movement must be over. This zigzag is over. And when we draw a parallel channel around it, we have a really clear, strong channel breach. So we have a corrective structure upwards. We need an impulsive structure downwards, a motive structure downwards. Primary wave 5 can be one of two structural possibilities. It can be either an impulse or an ending diagonal. An ending diagonal requires all of the subwaves to be zigzags, and with this downwards movement pretty clearly a 5, I don't think that's likely. We're most likely seeing a simple impulse unfold downwards. Within the impulse for primary wave 5, intermediate wave 2, when it arrives, can't move beyond the start of 1, above 1433.83. At 1045, primary wave 5 would reach equality in length with primary 1, which we saw on the weekly chart. Let's have a look at the end of the structure, where the end of minor wave 1, this leading contracting diagonal, is this point down here. Usually, following leading diagonals in first wave positions, we usually see relatively deep second wave corrections. That's a guideline, not a rule. That's got the highest probability. For the second wave to be a shallow sideways moving structure, as this is here, has a lower probability. Elliott wave analysis is an exercise in probability. We must always have the main wave count and what we expect most likely to happen follows the highest probability occurrence or structure. So what that means is when a low probability structure happens, it's not what we expect. That's the nature of probability. That's what happened here. Minor wave 2 is a completed double combination sideways moving structure, and this downwards movement is very, very clearly an impulse. This is minute wave 1 within minor 3. There are no adequate Fibonacci ratios here between 1, 3 and 5 at subminuet degree. Subminuet wave 3 is kind of close to 1.618, the length of 1, but there's just more than a 10% variation, and I consider anything more than a 10% variation off a Fibonacci ratio means there's an adequate ratio. It's just not close enough to say there's a ratio. So that's a bit unusual for gold, because gold usually does exhibit good ratios. There's no ratio here between minuet waves 1 and 3, so that makes it more likely we should see a ratio for the fifth wave and either the first or third. At 1308, minuet wave 5 would reach 0.618, the length of the third wave. It's past, obviously, equality with the first. It may not have a ratio with the first. The next likely is 0.618, the length of the third. So I'm expecting some more downwards movement to about 1308, and then when we see this small best fit drawn parallel channel around this downwards impulse nicely breached with some upwards movement, then expect that this downwards impulse is over and we're in a corrective structure trending upwards. At that stage, redraw the Fibonacci retracement from the start to wherever it's ended and expect the following second wave correction to most likely reach up to the 0.618 Fibonacci ratio of the downwards impulse. Minute wave 2 can't move beyond the start of 1 above 1367.14. Following second wave correction is complete, the next downwards wave should show a further increase in downwards momentum. At 1242, minor wave 3 in its entirety will reach 1.618, the length of minor wave 1. So finally, the situation is clear. We never did get a trend channel breach on the hourly chart of that downward sloping channel. We got an invalidation of the main wave count and confirmation of the alternate that I published yesterday. That indicates that we're in a downwards trend to see new lows for gold. That's all for me today with your gold analysis, and I hope that everybody had a fabulous day.